Good evening, and welcome to Common Sense, a program about the common sense, right answers to the issues we face today and how we, the citizen, can take an active role in our government. Complacency is no longer an option. We start off tonight's program with the government pet peeve of the week. Did you know the government is now in the business of mandating that all cell phones must be outfitted with a device to alert us via text message of natural disasters, terrorist attack, and Amber Alerts? The Personal Localized Alert Network, or PLAN, is first being piloted in New York City and Washington and going full scale in all major cities by April 2012. The wonderful thing about this program is that we, the American citizen, will not even have to sign up for this free service. Verizon, AT&T, and other carriers will automatically sign you up. There will be an opt-out option for the natural and man-made disaster and Amber Alert text. However, we will not be able to opt out of receiving messages from the President. Whether you like it or not, he can still text you. Is this going above and beyond the role of government? Is this yet another intrusion into our privacy? As Benjamin Franklin said, every time you give up something for the sake of safety, you give up your freedom. The usual liberal reasoning is, it's for the children, it's for the seniors, it's for your own good. When does it end? The far-reaching, nanny-state ways of this administration are beyond anything we could have ever imagined. The only thing these mandates, laws, rules, regulations, and restrictions do is strap the citizen with more taxes to pay for them and less freedom and liberty. We can only imagine how much this additional government bureaucracy is going to cost. We are all too aware of how successful government programs are. Post Office, Amtrak, Social Security, Medicaid, any of that ring a bell? How do we, the tax-paying citizen, fight back? We could start with our cell phone carriers and demand that we don't want this device on our cell phones, and we could use disposable cell phones, or we could just go back to using landlines. Of course, it's always our behavior that has to be altered. Maybe if we hit the cell phone carriers in their pocket, they will listen to us. And now for our first segment. Is socialism immoral? The mantra of this administration is that it is unfair that some people have more than others, and we need to redistribute the wealth. Under the guise of being fair, is it moral to take from those who make money to give to those who don't? Here to discuss the immorality of socialism is Reverend Dr. Harris and Michael Payuki, Essex County resident. Reverend Harris, we'll start with you. Can you please first give us a definition of what socialism is?
Yes, well, Sue Ann, I like this definition where it says any of the various economic and political theories advocating a collective or governmental ownership and the administration of the means of production and the distribution of the said goods. And particularly I am opposed to this kind of governmental influence because as a theologian, as a person of God, dealing with the principles of the founding fathers of this country, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse 10-11 says, "For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. And for we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies." And we're not just saying that everybody is lazy and nobody wants to work, but we're saying that no one should be made to take from his pocket involuntarily to give to another. It should be an act of love and compassion.
Right. So when we say that socialism is not compassionate, what we're really saying is that almost that it's theft when we do that. Michael, what are some of your feelings about the role of socialism in our society?
Yeah, my feeling is that this administration is guilty of more than just socialism. I believe that they include communism, totalitarianism, and fascism. They have taken over control of forms of industry. As just recently, they are dictating to Boeing that they can't do their manufacturing in South Carolina, where they built $1 billion plant plus, and they must take their production and go back to Washington, where the unions are in control of every worker.
Right.
This is the first time in American history this has ever happened, And to me, that's going a lot further than just socialism. To me, that is more of a form of totalitarianism
Right.
under this administration. There are many areas of where he has gone into stealing people's money, such as GM, where he took bondholders who were always first under bankruptcy rules to get their money, and he has diminished their input into it and hurt many interests along the way with pension plans and whatnot, where they had secure debts. Redistribution that never worked in Europe. They're getting out of it, and we're getting into socialism in many forms.
It does seem as well that our country was based on individualism and not collectivism, and it seems for the first time that's really where there has been such a huge government push. I mean, our Constitution gives us our inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which to me means that the government can't get in the way of you pursuing those things, not that you have to give to others so that they can have those things. Reverend Harris, can you speak to that?
Yes, Sue Ann, one of the things that I'm very concerned about is I've been reading and researching after it asked me to talk about this topic, about those of us, our kids 30 and under, who believe that socialism is better than capitalism.
Now, with the liberal media, Dr. Harris, how is it that we can craft our message so that we show that capitalism really is the virtuous way for us to deal with each other as opposed to socialism? I mean, that seems to me to be the challenge. How can we get our message out about that?
Well, I think that what you're doing now is very to be commended. But you have to also understand socialism is also a type of pseudo or false type of religion, because the people that believe in it think that they're helping. And that's going to be the difficulty at disbanding it. We have to show through our way, that God is a God of freedom, and that our country was founded on the godly principles and biblical principles. And I think the more we espouse that and talk about what God has ordained for our country, the better off we'll be.
Which is why our founding fathers did say that, you know, our inalienable rights come from our Creator and from no one else. Would you like to speak on that, Michael?
Yeah, I believe that the youth of this country have been indoctrinated, and eventually they're going to see the light and see that this country was built on capitalism and not socialism. Capitalism controls what it says capital, and that's where the jobs are created. They're not created through socialism that just gives people hands out money to people as they go along their life, and they eventually reach a point where there is no money left to give out.
Right, and as we're seeing now, I mean, by doing all of this, we are truly hurting our economy. This has done nothing to push our economy forward, to offer people jobs. It seems companies are holding back and not hiring people because they don't know what government regulation, which to me is another tax, which means less freedom for the company to hire people and to give people jobs.
I think, too, Sue Ann, that the youth of this country, they want to see something good happen in the country. They believe in what they're doing, and that's the danger of it, because they don't understand the totalitarianism, as he was talking about, of it.
Right.
And the young people today will not be enslaved. And they don't understand that this is almost a form of enslavement. And I think, as he said, that when they see that this is not an appropriate type of governmental system, that they'll rebel against it.
Exactly. I mean, because it seems the youth are supposed to be the ones who are fighting against the government. Don't tell me what to do. And yet it seems that they're buying into this sort of hook, line, and sinker, and without realizing that it takes over their individualism. They're going to school to better themselves, to be more, and it seems in the process this is going to be holding them back.
I think the reason, too, and I don't know if you agree, I think another reason is because the youth today, they don't have the baggage that the older generation had, and they think everything is cool, everything is equal, and I think that they're being duped, not just by this administration only, but other influential people that work in the government and that have worked. And so because of that, they think that everything's fair, and we want to be a part of this. We don't want to be part of that old system. Right. And I think that is the problem right there.
Right. And, our intrinsic nature, it seems, as Americans, is to want to help out and do. And when we're under a capitalist system, it gives us the choice of where we want to help and where we want to put our funds, and gives us the opportunity to choose. And that is the most important aspect of a capitalist system. Mike, would you like to speak about that? And just the importance of the individual.
I think that what we are approaching is an area where we are just giving monies, taking it from the rich and giving it to poor indiscriminately, and it's just going to destroy our capitalist system.
And the other part, Mike, that you can also speak to is that the government is less efficient than the private industry or charity. They don't have anyone to answer to. So that being said, who is holding the government accountable? We're in private industry, charity. There's certain numbers that need to be met, certain quotas in order for you to be successful. So whether the government does something well or not, it just seems to me that it self-perpetuates because they have the taxpayer as the to go to for the unending sources of money. Mike?
I was just listening to a program, and they were talking about government handouts, and they were talking about food stamps, and 40-some-odd% of the people in this country are on government handouts. Mm-hmm. But what really got to me when they were going through the list of who can get food stamps, it started off with people who really need them, and it reached to a point where the last one was said if you even own your own home or your own car, you can apply and get food stamps.
So I guess we can see
where is it stopping?
Right, it's the self-perpetuating thing of what the government is doing. So the more they impinge on the economy, it seems to me that the more people will start to need these services, which I suppose in the long run is the goal of socialism. Reverend Harris, you can say the final word.
Yes, when you were speaking, I think you were right. When you were talking about communism, I also took the liberty of just extracting some of the ideas from the Communist Manifesto and the immediate goals of socialism. One was free education, loose voting regulations, a progressive income tax to redistribute wealth from the rich to the poor, the abolishment of private property, nationalization of banking and transportation, and mandatory volunteer service for all citizens. So if we look at how our government is going, we can see that these things that are in the Communist Manifesto are being manifested in our country. And the last thing I want to say on that, I think the other thing that people are misunderstanding, they're thinking that this is a democracy. It's not. It's a republic.
Right.
And we need to continue to stress that.
States' rights.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harris and Michael. Thank you very much for your input on this important subject. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.